All right, so I got a comment of someone asking how can they kind of fix their diet to make it more healthy and how can they stop binge eating. So when it comes to diet and eating, you have to know like what are the right foods to be eating, and you kind of have to do that research on your own. I think it's going to be very beneficial to try and look into what foods are actually healthy. But in general, you want to have foods that will consist of like proteins, simple carbohydrates, um, fats, fiber, and then a bunch of other like macronutrients like vitamins and stuff like that. And of course, you want to drink plenty of water. Water should be like the only thing that you drink. And then in regards to the rest of his question, I really want to target that. So when it comes to binge eating, we binge eat because in a way we are addicted to whatever foods that we're going to be eating, and we crave for them. And when you crave for something, you're going to want more of it even when you've already gotten your fill of it, right? And that could be with anything. And binge eating is the worst because it's like, as humans, to survive, we kind of have to eat at some point. And for us to be addicted to it, that's like the worst of all, right? But the reason why we're going to be mostly addicted to food is because, for one, this is just in our biology. Eating, the feeling of eating is very satisfactory and is almost addictive, right? It feels good to just eat food. And then with how foods are now, foods are made very, very addictive. A lot of the junk foods and the sweet foods and fast foods, whatever the case may be, are very, very addictive. And one thing is that they're not satiating, so they're not gonna make us very full, or they're not packed with nutrients. So what's gonna happen is that we can keep eating, potato chips like over and over. We can eat like a whole family size bag of potato chips in one sitting, and like still feel like we didn't even eat anything because these foods have like no type of nutrients in them whatsoever. But they do have calories, that's for sure, and you just gained a bunch of ton of fat and whatever negative aspects you got from that food. So ways to kind of help with binge eating or to eliminate binge eating. So step one, in your own home or wherever you have access to food, which is usually in your house, eliminate the bad food, right? So that means don't have cookies in your house, don't have snacks in your house, don't have Oreos and chips in your house, right? Um, and this is going to lead into kind of like making a list and a budget for what foods you'll get when you go to the grocery store. So when you go to the grocery store, you want to budget out, okay, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars this week or for the next 2 weeks when it comes to buying groceries. And you're going to want to choose the most healthy and organic options possible. And with you doing that, you're kind of going to already avoid getting the bad foods, even if they are cheap. You just have to like ask yourself, like, is this in the budget? I didn't write this in the list. This isn't in the list. I'm gonna go over budget if I go ahead and grab these Oreos, or if I go ahead and grab these potato chips or whatever the case may be, right? Um, Another thing would be fasting, having a feeding window. And I don't just mean like a 16 to 8 fast, like 16 hours no eating, then 8 hour feeding window. Um, because it's like, think about it like this. Okay, you'll fast for most of the day, and then what you're going to eat the entire 8 hours, right? That can still definitely lead to binge eating. And then your willpower is going to be a lot weaker going on to the next day if you're still going to follow the 16-8 rule. So I'd say specifically have times where you will only eat in that time, right? So let's say 2 hours out of the day, that's gonna be you're gonna dedicate 2 hours to having your first meal of the day, and that 2 hours starts by you cooking and preparing the food, and then you're eating the food, right? So by then 2 hours should be up. And then the next time you eat would have to be like 5 6 hours later, and then you give yourself another 2 hours or maybe even another hour, especially if you cook relatively frequently and you have like leftovers and stuff like that. Another thing, eat more satiating foods, eat more nutrient dense foods, right? So you want to eat foods that have a good amount of protein and fats, and just other nutrients in them. So this way you'll be a lot more satiated without eating like a bunch of carbs like pasta or breads and pastries and stuff like that over and over again without feeling any type of like fullness. Because a lot of foods we can just scarf down without an issue whatsoever without feeling like, we've had enough. So if you have these foods that are very nutrient dense and packed, then you'll be able to, better fend off kind of the binge eating. And again, you're going to have to do your own research when it comes to that. So limit eating out. If you eat out with your friends every week, or if you constantly stop, getting food from outside like Burger King or McDonald's or Wendy's, whatever the case may be, stop doing that. For one, you're going to save your money. Come on. You're going to save money. If you already buy groceries and then you buy fast food on top or outside food on top of that, you're just wasting your own money and your gas money if you do drive. And then it's going to be more expensive, to be honest, if you're doing like, delivery, takeout, like DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. Because, bro, it'd be like $18 for a burrito, bro. I'm not doing all that. And then you don't know what they're putting in the food. That's not your own food that you cooked and prepared yourself. And, one thing, learn how to cook, bro. Learn how to cook. Like, it's like, a number one skill you should have. You should learn how to cook. Everybody should know how to cook something basic, at least boil some rice or something and bake some chicken. So yeah, limit eating out. This will save you a lot of money. Like I already said before, and like a lot of time as well if you're going to be staying at your house preparing your own food. And then another thing would be meal prep. So you want to have your own meals dedicated, to, days out of the week or whatever the case may be. You should pack your own lunch or dinner or even breakfast, depending on, what time you're out at the day. You should really prioritize eating like your own food that you make yourself, because those are going to be a lot better than, whatever bull crap they're going to give you in like school or whatever crap you're going to get from like McDonald's or whatever. If you go to work, right, they might not be providing you food unless you work in like some type of restaurant, and then, they will, but it's like, that's still going to be shit. But if you go out, buy groceries, cook your own food, and then, save that food for later, then you're going to have something that's going to be a lot more beneficial to your system, especially if you know what foods you should be eating. Another thing that can kind of inhibit or not inhibit, but kind of attract the ability to start binge eating, things like smoking. So especially like smoking weed, right? There's something called the munchies. And, when people smoke or they get high, they get hungry. And then all their progress goes out the window because they just ordered like DoorDash and pizza and just ate a bunch of bagels and cookies and all this stuff, which is not helping their case at all, right? And then drinking. So when it comes to drinking, it does mess with hormones, especially testosterone. And so that doesn't allow you to keep on and pack on muscle or lean mass. And it also limits your ability to be able to, lose weight and whatever the case may be. Now, the person who did ask this question is a young man, like about 15 years old. So I know, he might not be employed, or he might not, of course, doesn't have access to smoking or drinking. So that's good. But in terms of okay, so I just said grocery shop, right? Get your own food, right? If you're young, like this guy right here, how can you make sure that you're getting the right food, right? Because your parents might go out and they might grocery shop and they don't know what they're getting. Most people don't know what they should and should not be eating. So they'll almost all the time just get like crap food. So you're going to have to kind of, in a way, influence your parents. Like, hey, how about we don't get this cereal? How about we get this instead? Hey, Mom, how about, we cook a meal instead of getting, food out to eat or whatever the case may be, right? Or, try and get a job and just buy your own groceries and, see if your parents are okay with that. Or, get a job and pitch into groceries so this way you can have more of a say-so on what you guys should be getting. That's kind of like what's happened with my family and I. When I started eating more healthy and started working out, I made like a large impact on what my family eats as a whole over the course of years it's been so far. But I hope this video helps. With that commenter and anybody else who had us any like similar issues or questions. Check out my other videos. If you have anything you want to say in the comments, leave it down below. See you guys in the next one.